Hello, everyone, and this week we're going to talk about political parties, which is big right now because we head into an election. We have the Republican candidate Trump on one side and the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris on the other side. So let's talk about political parties. All right, what a political party is, it's a group that seeks to elect a certain candidate to a public office, and they supply them with a label or party identification by which they are known to the electorate. Right, like I said, for Democratic candidate Harris, Republican candidate Trump. Right, so and they try to get each party tries to get that candidate elected to the position. All right, so some familiar political parties, like I said, the Democratic and Republican parties. Less familiar parties over the course of time, as you notice from the textbook. There was the Whig Party, the Libertarian Party, the Socialist Workers Party. Whig Party was big before the Civil War. Socialist Party was big, turn of the century, beginning of 19th century, that time. So political parties have changed over the course of time. All right, it started with the Federalist, the Anti-Federalist, and that's how that way forward. Parties have three parts to them. All right, political parties have three parts to them. So this may be a question on the quiz. The organization that recruits and campaigns for candidates. That's one of their jobs. Its second is that it's the brand, right? It's the label in the minds of the voters. Right? What a Republican stands for, what a Democrat stands for. So it's that branding aspect of it. And the third part is leaders who try to organize and control the legislative and the executive branches, right? So parties try to organize and recruit candidates, the brand, and they also, once they're in there, they try to control the different branches as best as they can so they can control legislation. All right. Political parties. The first organized political party was made up of the followers of Thomas Jefferson himself. It began in the 1790s. They called themselves the Republicans, hoping to suggest that their opponents were secret monarchists, right? They're Republicans. They want the republic. But so if you're not a Republican, then you must be a monarchist and want to be like England. The Republicans at this time were mostly from the southern part of the colonies, southern states by this time, the southern states, rural states for the most part. Right? They wanted to say that we're the people. Right? Keep the power in the people. All right. Another one was the followers of Alexander Hamilton. Right? They called themselves the Federalists. Which reference all supporters of the U.S. Constitution. Right? So Federalists wanted to get rid of the Articles of Confederation and bring in the U.S. Constitution. By calling themselves the Federalists, they were implying that their opponents were anti-Federalists and not in favor of the Constitution. They were mostly from the North, from New England area for the most part. All right. A second party system emerged in the 1820s. All right. This is what happened when Andrew Jackson first ran for president. And this party system lasted up until the Civil War. Up until the Civil War time, which was 1860s for the most part. The first distinction was the political participation became a mass phenomena during this second party system. All right, so one of the first distinctions about this second party system that began in the 1820s, all right, was that voting became a phenomenon, right? Look at the totals. In 1824, there were 365,000 voters. 4 years later, almost tripled to 1 million voters, and then again doubling again to 2 million voters by 1840. The second distinctive feature of the second party system was that party conventions were invented. All right, with the first convention being held by the Anti-Masonic Party in 1831. All right, so first, the second party system, one distinct feature was the rise in voting. The second was this creation of the party convention. All right, so with the Civil War and sectionalism happening, the second party system was fairly and evenly balanced in most regions. But with the issues of nationalism and slavery became front and center, the parties divided and splintered amongst themselves. Okay, so all these parties that grew from the 1824 up until around 1860, they were pretty fair and balanced, right? We had some from the South, some from the North. Part of the Whig Party, we had throughout the states. But when slavery became an issue, and nationalism became an issue, the parties divided and new parties appeared. Okay, so two parties emerged around the Civil War time, and those were the Republican Party, those who supported the Union or anti-slavery, and the Democratic Party, those who supported the Confederacy and therefore slavery. All right, so these two parties emerged around the 1860s. Republican Party, those who supported the Union, which is the North, and they were anti-slavery, and the Democratic Party, which supported the Confederacy, South, which was for slavery. All right, the two parties of the Republican and Democrats remained, up until around the 1930s, with mostly northern states being solidly Republican and most southern states being solidly Democratic. All right, so, but then the things started to change, right? The progressives came into play, or the socialists, for lack of a better term. They were also known as the mugwumps, who opposed the emphasis on patronage. They disliked the party machinery, and they were heavily fearful of the influx of immigrants that were coming into the United States. Wanted the party to take unpopular positions on issues such as free trade, right? So the progressives started in this time. So by the late 20th century, mid to late 20th century, after the major civil rights legislation was enacted, you see another shift in our political parties. Political parties moved to their modern or current position, what we have today, all right, with the Democrats or the Democratic Party more supportive of efforts to address racial inequalities, Republicans less so. So what happened was this transformed the southern states, which were against racial reform and primarily Democratic, into an area that became more Republican. Okay? All right, so in that way, the Republicans became, the Democrats became the Republicans, and the Republicans became the Democrats. And it's kind of weird transition of time. Democrats and Republicans diverged on issues such as taxes, abortion, and women's rights. This added to the divides, and this realignment period, a period which is when it happened, which is a period when a major lasting shift occurs in the popular coalition supporting on or one or both of the major political parties. Right, so there's another realignment. Right, so the names were the same; they just were realigned. All right, so throughout the U.S. history, there have been a series of major realignments in American politics. So let's think about this. The 1800s, when the Jefferson Republicans defeated the Federalists. 1828, when the Jacksonian Democrats came into power. 1860s, when the Whig Party collapsed and Republicans under Lincoln came to power. 1896, when the Republicans defeated William Jennings Bryan. And then again in 1932, when we see this civil rights shift, when the Democratic Party under FDR came into office. Okay? All right, so just to sum up here, the function of political parties, again, we talked about recruit candidates, right? Party leaders from local, state, and national parties, right? They recruit candidates and need to convince people to run for specific office, right? So they look to people to say, listen, we need you to run for office in this district, or we need you to run for office on this school board, or something like that. They nominate candidates. That's the second thing, functional political parties. Primary elections for a specific seat. If two or more from a single party wish to represent their party, a primary election is held to determine the nominee for that political party. And primary elections are both closed and open. A primary election where only one registered party members may vote for the party nominees. And an open is when, regardless of your party membership, anyone may vote for the party nominee. All right. So that's what we got. Your deliverable due tomorrow is to discuss in detail, about a page and a half, whether the Lincoln Republicans are the Republican Party of today. Okay, that's pretty much it. About a page and a half, whether the Lincoln Republicans are the Republican Party of today. Any questions, comments, or criticisms, please feel free to call me, email me, text me, whatever it is. If not, take care.